Okay, so to get the exhaust bolt on the passenger side, it's going to be a lot easier to come in through here and get access to what you need. So we're going to go ahead and take out some of these screws that you'll find up in the fender well and just peel this back. Okay, so in here we're going to disconnect this O2 sensor. And so we're following it from here in the exhaust rather than unscrewing it and doing that. We're just going to unplug it. And so, sorry, it's a little tight in here. So we're going to get our screwdriver in here and pop off this lock. There we go. So that unlocked it by popping that upwards. So now we can just pull the sensor apart. Okay, so now I was able to spread those two apart with that lock undone, so you have to flip that open and then it'll pull apart. Okay, so we're just prying the sensor out of its little deal there, where those two holes were that it was pushed into. Now we can just drop the sensor down with the exhaust. Okay, so for the O2 on the driver's side, it's very easily accessible for the connector. So here it is, and it has a locking mechanism on it. So you have to come in here with basically a screwdriver, and you just get underneath this tab here and pop it upward, and that unlocks it. So once it's clearly unlocked, then just pull on this top piece here, just wiggle it back and forth, and that disconnects it. And so now it's still connected by those little pins that you can just push off. Disconnected this O2 sensor, and so then we just pushed the actual housing out of where it's held on there, so it can also just drop down with the exhaust. So coming in from the passenger side here, we're going to remove our heat shield so we can get to our exhaust bolts. So it's two of these 10mm bolts, one on each side. And there's also one more right there. Okay, so coming in from the fender well, I was able to put that wrench on that top exhaust bolt and broke it loose, so it's starting to come off now. Once again, it's one of these wrenches that has the bendy head on it and ratcheting, which worked real nice. It was hard to get a regular socket in there. So that's how we're getting the exhaust bolt off on the top passenger side. Okay, so we took out those exhaust heat shield bolts so that we could move this up enough. Now we can get onto this bolt here, and so we're going to use our 14mm bend bolt head ratchet to get on that. Okay, so we're going to remove the exhaust here as it goes up to the manifolds, but there is one up there. You can see I got it real coated with that liquid wrench, and it might smoke a little bit on startup once that heats up, but we can also try to clean it up when we have it off. But it's going to be a 14mm deep socket, and I'll show you how we're going to get it on the driver's side, which will be the easier side. Not sure if you can see that, but there's a deep socket, a U-joint right after that, and then a whole bunch of extensions here. I'll show you how this is run. It's run extensions up over this support for the transmission all the way until it's straight onto that. Once again, it's a 12mm or 14mm. Okay, so yep, right into this cross member through the drive shaft and up onto that exhaust manifold. That's the only way to get to that bolt, driver's side. Okay, so for the exhaust bolt on the driver's side, this top one, it's best to come in here from the top. If you can see, that wrench is on there because the bolt's coming out from the front. Passenger side, we were able to go through the wheel fender well. On this side you have the steering column and some brake lines and everything going through, so you can't really get to it, but this is the best way I was able to get to one of these top bolts for the exhaust. Okay, so with those 3 bolts out up top, we're going to go ahead and come here at the back and remove these 2. They're also the 14mm deep socket to remove those, and then we'll be able to pull these catalytic converters out. Okay, so now you can separate the catalytic converter. It's loose here from the top, and now it's loose here. All we really did was just kind of push on that muffler a little bit to separate it. So now you can just pull this out and drop it down, and doing the same thing on the other side.